Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Spotfire session. I've just realised I don't have this light on, so I'm going to do that right now. That will be better. More light is better than no light. I hope that you've all had a wonderful week. I've been very busy in the last week and now the dog wants to go out. Margaret, come and sit down here. You just wait. All right, please. Thank you. So welcome. This is our Spotfire session on micromanaging staff. And I've raised this because I think that it's incredibly important to think about what micromanaging means, not only to the person who's doing the managing, but also the person who's being micromanaged. And I see it a lot in workplaces, and it often results in not so great outcomes for the entire organisation. So I want to talk to you today about why micromanage, where does it come from, and look at some strategies about how to deal with that so that there's less stress in the workplace. So I think that micromanaging, for me personally, I think that it comes down to being an issue about fear. I think it is fear from the leader through to the organisation. I think it is a fear of not being successful. And when we are the leader, when we're the CEO, the boss, we generally have to be successful. That's our role. We have to be successful. So we have to meet budgets, we have to meet board requirements, we need to meet KPIs. There's a whole range of different things that is reflected in the way in which the business is operating, and our success is part of that. And we need our teams to make sure that we meet all of those goals and KPIs and deadlines or dollars or whatever it's going to be. And if we've got team that are not performing, if we've got team members who are making mistakes or who are not coming in at certain KPIs and the like, then this puts us in a state of fear because we're not going to meet that, and then that might have an impact on whether or not we continue to be the leader, whether the business succeeds or fails, a whole range of different things. So we can't afford for our team not to be successful. And I think that that's where micromanaging comes in. Now, I've been told by a number of leaders over time that they don't have a choice, they just have to micromanage their teams, otherwise they won't perform. And I'd have to say that I think that that's not true. I think that fear is not a great motivator for work, and that the more you micromanage somebody, the more chance they have of making mistakes, of you seeing things not going well, and the whole thing spiralling down into a very unhappy pit of failure, really. You can see it coming. So if we go back a few steps and we look at the fear and then see how we could do this differently. So we've recognised that the fear is about us having to be successful. And when we're stressed and fearful, we are more likely to focus on the negative because we desperately need people to do what we want them to do. And so we get very stressed, and when we're very stressed, we see the negative. It's a bit like when I'm very stressed, I can see a lot of dust in my house and the floor needs vacuuming and a whole range of different things. I see things going wrong. But when I'm not stressed, those things don't worry me very much at all. And it's really easy to not sweat the small stuff when I'm not feeling stressed. But when I'm feeling really stressed, then I see everything's out to get me. I feel quite paranoid. I feel like the world's attacking me. And I think that that's what happens in business. So the more successful we've got to be, the greater the stress that we're under, the more we may be inclined to micromanage. Now, I don't know if you've ever been micromanaged, but I have. And I can remember in that instance of being micromanaged that I performed really badly. I was incredibly resentful of the person who was micromanaging me. I avoided that person like the plague. I came up with a really cruel nickname for that person because I truly disliked them, because they would go out of their way to find any mistake in the work that I was doing. My motivation for work deteriorated rapidly, and there were times when I just wanted to cry because I just knew that whatever I did, I was going to be wrong. I was going to make a mistake. I was so desperate not to make mistakes because I was always in trouble, but I couldn't not make mistakes because I was so stressed that I was performing so badly. So if you've ever been micromanaged, chances are you would know that you don't actually like being micromanaged. It's not a good state. People go to work because they want to play, because they want to be good at what they do. They want to use their skills to help the organisation and to help out. People generally like going to work. They want to do a good job. And if we go with that mindset and assume that people do want to do a good job, then I think that helps us to stop micromanaging and performance managing people. I know that there are times when, for legal purposes, we have to performance manage somebody because they're not a good fit for the organisation, and we have to cover ourselves for legal purposes. But I'm talking about those instances where we're actually talking about people being micromanaged because we don't know any other way of managing people, and I think that that's a problem. So how do you stop being scared? Well, as far as I'm concerned, the way in which you stop fear is to act. And the act that you want to put in place is trust. So if you've employed somebody specifically for a purpose, and you employed them because they, on paper, had the skills and the experience and the qualifications necessary to do the job, then I would say that it's on you to make sure that you give them the training required so they can just get on and do the job. And they are going to make mistakes, because we will all make mistakes from time to time. But if we focus on the good work that they're doing rather than the mistakes they're making, chances are we'll get more of what we want and what we call out. So if we focus and call out the good stuff and we don't sweat the mistakes, then I think that you're going to get better outcomes. So putting that in a different context, I have a 13-and-a-half-month-old granddaughter who is learning to walk, and every time she takes a step, we cheer and we celebrate the small milestone of taking a step or standing there by herself or whatever it is. And she looks all smart and happy and all of that, and she continues to do more and more and more. And that's what we want. Adults are just grown-ups who were once upon a time children. We all love accolades. We all love to be thanked and to be admired for our work. And when we work into for a new employer or whatever, it takes time to settle in, and we need that recognition. We need somebody to constantly say, you are on track, you are doing a great job, thank you so much, so that they can feel like they're part of the team and then know that they're doing the right thing. If from the very outset we see their mistakes and, oh God, don't do it like that, then they're never going to feel confident in what they're doing, and chances then that it will be more difficult for them to be competent because they start doubting themselves and doubting what they do. So I think the act is to trust. And how do you trust? Well, trust is about making sure that you have trained people properly, that you give them regular updates, that you check in, that if something's not going right, you say, are you okay? And check in about what's going on for them, that this mistake keeps happening. Because if a mistake keeps happening, as we've discussed before, that just means that there's something that's not working, and chances are it goes back to the leader, that there's not enough training, they haven't explained something well enough, this person's not a good fit for this role, or a whole range of different things. So we need to learn to trust, and it takes time. But like we need to reward the other person when they do the right thing, we need to reward ourselves and say, good job, when we have trusted, when we let it go, when we go, that small mistake there isn't a big deal if we're going to get a lot more of this really good work over here. So focus on the behaviour you want. Focus on the positive. It's so easy to find mistakes. It's so easy for things to go wrong when we're looking for them. But if you want more of good, positive behaviour that's going to meet your goals and ensure that you are successful, then you've got to focus on the positive. You've got to focus on the work that's meeting those requirements. You got to look for the positive in people. They are trying to do a good job. And if at the end of the day they are not a good fit for the role, then they will usually opt out. They will usually recognise that you've given them every opportunity and this is just not a good fit for them, and then they'll leave. Or they'll look for other work in another part of the business, or you restructure things to make sure that you find some work that does fit them. And that's where a DISC assessment can be really helpful. That's where a strength finder can be really helpful to make sure that you have got people in the right job. Giving me a job with attention to detail is not a good idea. That's not my bag. I'm big picture. If you put me in attention to detail, I just want to cry sometimes because I don't like it. It just frustrates me. Whereas if I get to be able to think in problem solve in the big picture way, then that makes me incredibly happy. Doesn't mean I can't do the attention to detail work, but it's not my bag. It's not where I want to be. And that's going to be the same with your staff. There's going to be some of your staff that you might have in the wrong role for their personality type. So I hope that's really helpful. Realistically, micromanaging is from us, the leader. We are responsible for it. It's not that the other person needs to be micromanaged. It's that we need to learn to trust. We need to have faith in people. We need to appreciate them as much as possible. Look for when they're doing good. Say thank you, check in, make sure they're going okay. If somebody's not performing, it's not necessarily them. It's we haven't set it up right in the first place. Hard to hear, but once we've recognised that, then it's just so much easier because we can take responsibility for that. And we can make those things happen. We can turn that around. So I hope that you have a really good week. I hope that this has been really helpful to you. Margaret, the dog, has decided she doesn't want to go out now. She's now resting on her bed. She gets quite frustrated with me, really. Door opening, door closing business. Okay, well, have a good one, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.